With connected planning, you experience seamless flow across different styles of planning. Financial planning, sales planning, HR planning, IT planning, and marketing all can be connected through CrossPod SmartPush and navigation flows to provide a seamless experience for planners across different departments. In this 3-part series, you'll see how they are connected in planning. This is the second part of the 3-part series. HR does a different kind of planning. Instead of planning dollars and cents, HR is really planning skill sets. What are the organization's required skill sets needed to meet the strategic objectives? You start with information coming directly from HCM. On the left, for the average skills comparison, we look at the current skills in blue and the skills needed for FY26. That leads into the broader exercise of planning the demand and the supply of employee strategic skills. From an operational standpoint, HR would work with business leaders around the enterprise to identify the critical skill sets and plan out the demand for it. Based on the sales target, the system automatically calculates the number of FTEs required to achieve this target. With the sales target, an average quota per sales rep is calculated, and that is used to derive the number of FTEs. This FTE count gets integrated from Sales Planning Cloud into Strategic Workforce Planning. The HR team uses this FTE count as a basis to plan for their human resource requirements for the upcoming budget year. This integration is achieved through Cross-Application SmartPush. On the left are the critical roles within the HR organization, along with driver-based assumptions based on certain criteria. For example, an HR specialist might be based on the number of HR calls you get. Manager might be more based on employee count. These driver-based assumptions are all selectable by the planner, going out to FY23, FY24, etc. On the bottom charts, you can see demand broken down by FTE, and you can see demand by headcount. That is one side of the equation. Supply focuses on things such as attrition rates. You would start with information from the HCM system. You can plan for what you expect future attrition to look like. The final task in strategic workforce planning is to look at supply versus demand. In the upper left, look at the total estimated supply of the strategic skills and compare that to your demand. There are some pretty big gaps, so HR needs to focus on how to close those gaps between supply and demand of skill sets. Take a look at a strategic job like analyst for FY22. There are 10 FTEs needed. How do I address that? I could transfer some people, or do some experienced hiring, or perhaps bring in some contingent labor. The goal is to plan the skills and supply to close the gap. There is a huge amount of spending to transform the business to perhaps become a more digital organization. When finance thinks about the IT budget, they think of it as one number, but IT finance thinks about how to slice and dice that number to spend the budget across consumers, like different lines of businesses. How are IT services spent versus what is needed for licenses, for applications? What are the cost pools that will ultimately be charged back to the business? From a planning perspective, IT finance would be spending a lot of time breaking IT expenses into critical categories: labor expenses, training expenses, support, etc. This would be billed out based on driver-based planning or IT project planning. There are different spend categories: NAIT, EMEA IT, etc. Whether it be by geography, by services and applications, you are breaking out the supported IT services, such as whether it is an internal system or a commercially developed system. A key part of this is planning out the indirect expenses that need to be charged back out to individual lines of businesses. IT finance determines how to bill back indirect expenses to the individual lines of businesses. The final step of the ITFM process is not just the planning, but also taking it all the way out to accounting. What is that final charge back to the business around the enterprise? It results in the bill of IT, similar to your utility expense, showing all the IT services you are consuming, the assumption around the drivers, quantity of that service, unit cost, and charge. To see the transparency of what is being charged out is very powerful. This allows the three-way discussion between IT, corporate finance, and the lines of businesses to discuss how to optimize cost and how to focus spending so that it is focused on transformation as opposed to keeping the lights on. To continue with the Connected Planning Overview series, review the next video in this series to see how marketing campaigns are developed to align with the other business plans. To learn more, visit docs.oracle.com.